Good morning, Unity. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Ho, ho, ho. I'm Fred Mahaffey. It is so good to see you all here this morning. Thank you for having made the decision to join us. Oh, my goodness. This takes a while. Talk amongst yourselves. Work? It is so hot. It's going to come off soon. So, what a pleasure to see you all here. Thank you for joining us this morning. You know, there are no accidents, at least that's what we believe in Unity. So, you have decided to say yes to the call this morning. It's nice to have you here. In Unity, we welcome people of every culture, every lifestyle, every creed. We honor the many paths to God, the many names for God, and the many ways in which to experience God. We give thanks for the presence of God within each of us and the expression of joy, love, and truth in our lives that presence brings. Today's daily word is joy. I express pure joy from the inside out. Joy begins in the depths of my soul, radiates through my heart, and shines out to the world. Although the events of this season may bring pleasure, the deepest joy comes when I connect to my Christ nature. When my heart, mind, and soul are aligned with the indwelling Spirit, I am naturally curious and excited about everything and everyone I meet. I am enthusiastic about my life and eager to do all that is mine to do. I experience a contagious bliss of gladness. The joy of Spirit in me is effervescent. It sparkles through my eyes and adds a bounce to my step. Today I rejoice as God's jubilation bursts forth from within me. And from the 15th chapter of John, 11th verse, I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. And now Reverend Heidi has an update on the week just passed, as well as some things coming up.
You want a waltz? That's all right. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you. Thanks for wearing your hat. All right. Okay. It's Celebrate Christmas in a Silly Way Sunday. All right. I had more of my reindeer friends at the earlier service, but this is great. I'm glad y'all are here. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año e Felicidad. Not bad, right? Go Mexico. And so welcome to our service. You know, all languages, all creeds. It's all fantastic that you're here. And welcome to your home on Thome, our spiritual community of love, light, and laughter. And we've had a huge week. It's last Sunday, we had our variety show. We had 21 acts. It went on for 2.5 hours. We had singing, we had dancing, we had swing dancing, we had interpretive dancing, we had cardiologist-approved tap dancing. We had the ukulele, the guitar, the piano. Many pieces were accompanied by our own Peter Polzak. Yes, it was amazing. Yes, we even had geriatric Santa Baby. That was mine, yes. So, if you weren't here, well, we're so sorry, but we have a not just one, but 2 DVD set. Yes, of our variety show. It would be wonderful to, on Christmas Day, you know, when you just want to relax and have some fun, watch the variety show. It's so fun. So for those of you who weren't here, again, it takes a while to make these, so it's $15 for 2 DVDs. And if you were in the show, it's $10 because we so appreciate your energy. And if you were in the show, can you please stand up? Because I just really want to give you a hand for being willing to go, here I am. Yes, thank you. This is... Yes, Ben, thank you so much. It really is, it's just fantastic. There was one, I guess there were 2 people that played one person. That was fascinating. So anyway, they're out in the wings of prosperity. If we run out, which we might, you can sign up and we'll make a set for you. Then Thursday night, we had an appreciation dinner for our volunteers, and here they are. I mean, we had 100 plus. It was so fantastic, and we just let's give a hand to all of you volunteers. It was really, and there was such an energy there of people that are, in that flow of circulation of their time, talent, and treasure. So I just really appreciate you all so much. Okay, so a couple of things. Wednesday night, Christmas Eve, we're having a 6:30 service. It's going to be so powerful. It's going to be lessons and carols. And so we'll talk, we'll have the Christmas story, but we'll be singing in the midst of it. And it'll just be a really holy time. We're going to have a candle lighting service time. And we have Maggie Bynum and Tom Logan and Suzanne Parker. Let's see if I always, it's just like, okay, the computer gets a little full sometimes. Peter Parker, Bill Harrison, and Sarah Allen. Peter Polzak. Oh my gosh. Anyway, these wonderful people. They'll all be here, and I'll be here. Maybe I'll remember my name. But anyway, so please come, candle lighting, carols, and it'll be holy, very holy. All right. Their names are here on my sheet. Yeah, all right. Okay. So, everybody's been asking me, let's do a unity class. So we're going to do a unity class. Yay! All right, so we're starting it the second Sunday in January. It's one of the first metaphysical writers in unity, Florence Scovel Shinn. Many people just call her Flo. But she wrote in the early 1900s and this book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And so we'll do it in our Sunday series for 5 weeks, and then we'll have a class for you all on Thursday nights, and we'll just come together. And a lot of things about, your word is your wand. How do we really learn in this new year to create what we really want and release what we don't want anymore? So come and be part of that. So today we are focusing on joy, and we're in our fourth Sunday of Advent, and so we have candles that have been lit, and I'll say, do y'all remember what the first candle was for? Faith. All right, what was the second candle for? Peace. That's right. Okay, my mother was an elementary school teacher. And the third candle is for love, yes. And then this one is, Christmas is for the kids, so, I'm working with that kid within you. All right, so the fourth candle is on joy. Yes, and so we are going to have a time of joy in this moment. I'd like you to stand up and say to one another, it's a joy to see you. All right? It's a joy to see you. It's a joy to see you. It's a joy to see you. Yeah, hi. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Hey, it is a joy to see you. Oh, so precious. Yay! So now we get to say our life-affirming affirmation, I am full of myself. I am full of myself. Yes, and when you get home, I'd like you to look in the mirror and say, it's a joy to see you. Right? Okay, good, because you might have forgotten to do that this morning. And I want to say hello to our online audience. We had a gentleman from Mexico that used to come to church here, moved to Mexico. In Mexico City, he had a little prayer group in Mexico City, but then he moved to Monterey, and he couldn't find a Unity group of any sort. And so we went online just to see, I wonder what's going on at Unity in Chicago, and he said, and y'all were there. I could see you. I was on the back pew, row. And And he came in this week, yesterday, just to say hi, and he's just here for the holiday. Yes, and no, now he's going back to Mexico, but how cool, right? So just know that we're really, your energy gets broadcast all over the world, and we're getting emails from all kinds of people and donations. Yay, we love donations. But but mainly we love that everybody's in connected, and that we're all, waking up, because that's really what the Christmas is all about. So without further ado, you all are in for a big treat today. Josie Falbo was here with us, so let's give Josie a big hand.
Do you remember me? I sat upon your knee. I wrote to you with childhood fantasies. Well, I'm all grown up now and still need help somehow. I'm not a child, but my heart still can dream. So here's my lifelong wish, my grown-up Christmas list. Not for myself, but for a world in need. No more lives torn apart, that wars would never start, and time would heal our hearts. Everyone would have a friend, and right would always win, and love would never end. Oh, this is my grown-up Christmas list. As children we believed the grandest sight to see was something lovely wrapped beneath a tree. Well, heaven surely knows that packages and bows can never heal a hurting human soul. No more lives torn apart, that wars would never start, and time would heal our hearts. Everyone would have a friend, and right would always win, and love would never end. Oh, this is my grown-up Christmas list. What is the solution? Call the innocence of youth. Maybe only in a blind belief could we ever find the truth. Oh, no more lives torn apart, and wars would never start. Time would heal our hearts. Everyone would have a friend, and right would always win, and love would never end. Oh, this is my grown-up. This is my grown-up. This is my grown-up Christmas list. Thank you.
Wow. It seems so effortless. Wow. So there were 3 guys that ended up at St. Peter's Gate on Christmas Eve. And St. Peter, he can be a little bit of a trickster. So he said, okay, to get into heaven today, you're going to have to produce something that seems like something from Christmas. So one guy had a lighter in his pocket, and he took it out, and he flicked his lighter, and he said, it's the season of lights. And so St. Peter said, okay, that's good. Come on in. Then the next guy, he comes up, and he pulls his keys out of his pocket, and he shakes his keys, and he said, this is sort of like Jingle Bells. And St. Peter went, okay, come on in. So the next guy is like, you don't really pack to go to heaven, right? So he's thinking, I don't know, what? And then he reached in his pocket, and he realized that he had borrowed a pair of glasses from his lady friend the night before. And you could see he got all excited, and he raised up in his hand, and he said, these are Carol's. Yeah. All right, Christmas jokes, you got to kind of go to the bottom of the barrel sometime. Anyway, these really are mine. But the idea of joy is that joy comes in so many different forms, and it's certainly in jokes, and many of you have great sense of humor, and I really appreciate it because we get to laugh and all kinds of things. Christmas is an interesting time because it kind of seems like you're supposed to feel ... You're supposed to feel joyful, or you're supposed to feel grateful, and you're supposed to feel happy. And one thing I've learned on the spiritual path is that it's like very much what the daily word said. You can rely on that daily word, that joy really is something that is an inside job, just like the faith and the peace and the love and the joy. And that's why, Jesus, when he came, he didn't say, you could go pick up some joy at the local store, or, maybe if somebody really likes you, then you can, that would be a joy thing. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And here at Unity, we say it's your divine inheritance. But most of us have sort of missed the whole thing of this spiritual bank account that we have. And we miss all these gifts and all this experience of life being not something that we have to achieve and do, but an experience of being in what is called joy. And it's interesting to recognize that joy is in the midst of these of your life, of your experiences. I think this, and I know this, and then I want to make sure I'm the only one that thinks this. But Buddha says, we are shaped by our thoughts, we become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. And when you look at your shadow, it's there. And it's almost like because the light is here and in your presence, that's why you have a shadow. So the joy is really about clearing our mind. Buddha says, or Joseph Campbell says, find a place inside where there is joy, and joy will burn out the pain. And Khalil Gibran says, when you're joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that will give you joy. Wow, right? Because it is fascinating, the things that somehow we're feeling sort of sad about and frustrated about, that when we can sit with them and let that spiritual knowledge burn it away, then joy is there. I know all of us have had where we just have a good cry about something. I always say the heart opens and the eyes leak. But when you have a good cry about something, and then all of a sudden you start laughing. I can't tell you how many people I've been with, in spiritual counseling. They'll be crying and crying, and all of a sudden they start laughing, and then they go, I can't believe I'm laughing about this. This is so sad. And I'm like, yeah, but see, the joy, you were trying to hold back this experience of just living. We get into, well, I don't want to cry, I don't want to be sad. And Christmas is a great time, but maybe, something happened. Maybe you had a pet pass, or maybe, you had a loved one that's ill, or maybe you're ill, and maybe it's, December 21st, and it's just the way it is. So perhaps joy isn't something that we can sort of obtain out of I should be, but that it's in the midst of what's going on in our life. I've been fascinated by this, one of our Christmas carols, because it's fascinating. We'll put up that joy to the world. It says, joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. Let heaven and nature sing. And I love that line, let every heart prepare him room. Let every heart, how open is our heart to, how prepared are we to receive joy and to experience it within ourselves. We've often made a way of life about seeing how things don't work, or seeing how people are really, not as well as I. I'm more evolved. If everybody could just be like me. But that would be a crazy world. But the idea that we have this challenge of really getting stuck in our situation, rather than preparing our heart for this consciousness. So I am really interested. I've met so many of you here, and I see how you all are working through things. And I tell you, some of the happiest people I ever meet are people, the first thing they'll say is, I grew through this. I had addiction, and now I'm on the other side of it. So I sort of have appreciation for what I didn't have. Or somebody died, and I appreciate that experience of having that relationship. I never, really had it until, till it was gone. Or, people have gone through divorce, or people have gone through illness. And so I was very inspired by a story that I saw a film many years ago, and it's a story that talked a lot about preparing room for something new. It's a historic story, and it happened, interestingly enough, 100 years ago right now. And I'll read to you about a quote that came from this story in 1914. It was the Western Front in 1914, and the British and the Germans and the French were at war. And this is one of the gentlemen wrote, on Christmas morning, we stuck up a board with Merry Christmas on it. The enemy stuck up a similar one. Two of our men then threw their equipment off and jumped on the parapet with their hands above their heads. Two of the Germans did the same thing and commenced to walk up the river bank, our two men going to meet them. They met and shook hands, and then we all got out of the trench. So wrote a British soldier named Frank Richards, referring to the first Christmas of World War I, 100 years ago this Thursday. Up and down the 400, it gives me chills. Up and down the 400 odd miles of trenches on the Western Front, men risked their lives with similar acts, meeting opposing soldiers in no man's land. Wary and unarmed, they made their way out of the trenches, taking steps that a day earlier would have guaranteed their death at the hands of sharpshooters and machine gunners 100 yards away. The relaxation of the hostilities spread, and what has come to be known as the Christmas truce took hold. Soon soldiers were holding joint burial services for the dead. They began trading goods. British soldiers had been given holiday tins of plum pudding from the king. German soldiers had received pipes with a picture of the crown prince on them. And before long, the men were bartering these holiday gewgaws that celebrated the enemy's royals. Eventually, soldiers prayed and caroled together, shared dinner, and exchanged gifts. Most famously, there were soccer matches at various locations played by improvised balls. Bruce Barnesfather, who served throughout the world, wrote, "I wouldn't have missed that unique and weird Christmas day for anything. I spotted a German soldier, some sort of lieutenant, I think, and being a bit of a collector, I intimated to him that I had taken a fancy to some of his buttons. I brought out my wire clippers and with a few deft snips removed a couple of his buttons and put them in my pocket. And then I gave him 2 of mine in exchange. The last I saw of one of my machine gunners, who was a bit of an amateur hairdresser in civil life, cutting the unnaturally long hair of a docile German who was patiently kneeling on the ground whilst the automatic clippers crept up the back of his neck." Future nature writer Henry Williamson, then a 19-year-old private in the London Rifle Brigade, wrote to his mother on Boxing Day, which we know is December 26th, "Dear Mother, I'm writing from the trenches. It is 11 o'clock in the morning. Beside me is a coke fire. Opposite me is a dugout with straw in it. The ground is sloppy in the actual trench and frozen elsewhere. In my mouth is a pipe, presented by Princess Mary. In the pipe is tobacco. Of course, you say, but wait. In the pipe is German tobacco. Ha ha, you say, from a prisoner or found in a captured trench? Oh dear, no. From a German soldier. Yes, a live German soldier in his own trench. Yesterday, the British and German met and shook hands in the ground between the trenches and exchanged souvenirs and shook hands. Yes, all on Christmas Day. And as I write, marvelous, isn't it? Marvelous, yes, right? So we can breathe into that story. Marvelous, isn't it? And so when I see any story, I always use it as a metaphor. You know, because what trenches are we in? What is the trench you're in? What is the story about how somebody's the enemy? What is the story about how I'm different than you and you need to not be on the planet if I'm going to be okay? All right? What is our story? And most of us we're in war number 332 in our own lives. You know, we were probably warring against maybe our parents when we were young and maybe our religion. We felt like we were warring against God. You know, we were warring perhaps against our creativity if we were told we couldn't do this or we couldn't dream. You know, we were warring against maybe our siblings and then our boyfriends, our girlfriends, who became maybe our husbands or our wives. And then we were warring against our children, warring against money, warring against our health, warring against our friends, warring against the sense of I don't feel free. And this metaphor is so powerful to see that what brought these people together was really the sense of oneness. The story is that someone started to sing in one of the trenches, and then the other person started to sing because it's like, oh gosh, I know this song too. And then they started to come out of their trenches into no man's land, right? In the place between the trenches. You know, it's what Rumi says, there's a field beyond right and wrong, and I'll meet you there. You know, that's what we're doing. That's what Christmas is about, and certainly that's what the joy experience of really allowing that joy to come in the face of something that feels like a conflict. So I have brought a clip of this film. It's one of my favorite films. It's called Joy Noël, and it is in French, Noël, you know, they say it so beautifully. But I'd like you to watch this clip, and I'd like you to consider the trench you may be in right here and right now. So we'll lower the lights. And the first part's in French, but you'll catch it.
Mon lieutenant, venez voir vite. Il se passe quelque chose de bizarre en face.
J'aime pas bien ça, mon lieutenant.
C'est peut-être une diversion vu d'un seul coup, non?
Gute Macht durch der Engel Halleluja, tönt es laut vom fern und nah. Christ der Retter ist da. Christ der Retter ist da.
Kommen Sie da runter!
Adeste fideles, leti triumphantes, venite, venite in Angelorum, venite adoramus, venite adoramus, venite adoramus, Dominum.
Oh, yeah. So let's breathe into this. So maybe to honor these folks, this whole experience 100 years ago, there may be something in your life that you want to heal. You know, there may be that trench that is coming out that you're willing to come out of, and 2014 is the year you're like, I'm complete with this. And I really invite you to to let this experience, I know when I love watching films, I love coming to Unity churches, and then I love applying these things to my life. You know, there's usually someone on this planet or even a situation on this planet that you'd like to prepare your heart to have more space. And so one of the ways that we get to exercise this is to, when you're taking time at night to reflect on your day or any time, to send that person, you know, you can always say, I wish you well. I wish you health. I wish you peace. I wish you joy. I wish you love. And to watch the shift that happens in your own beingness. Wasn't it fascinating? I mean, I realize it's a movie, but I've got quotes, is that, you know, when these people heard sort of the song of their heart, you could just see the face. It's like, oh my gosh, there's not a problem here. You know, there's really not a problem here. And I know many of these people some of them were arrested afterwards, some of them had to go back to war, but that they were willing to risk something dying within them, which was the story that we're different. You know, which was the story that I'm right and you're wrong. And I think that was what Jesus really came to teach. You know, and he taught it in a way that was very much in-your-face productions. You know, just do this thing. Just do this thing. As I can tell you, friends, and I know we all have something that's not right with this world that we're holding in our minds. And when I can shift that, you know, that's how my Christ nature is revealed. And it's almost like it's happened to me for that to happen. So we get to really embrace this feeling of, I'm in a trench, it's okay. My family's been hanging out in this trench for a long time, or my consciousness has been hanging out in this trench for a long time. And as they say, don't decorate it and go, this is good enough, you know, to really be willing to, like they said, look out and see who you are. A great question to ask yourself, who would I be if I wasn't in this conflict? If I didn't have this problem? If I didn't feel poor or old or sick or angry? Who would I be? It's a fascinating experience. And to know that joy for you is going to be different than it's going to be for someone else. You want to engage in that sense of, obviously for many of these people over here, it's music. And what is it that we can engage in? I had a friend of mine from Paris come in town for the last couple of days, and he really wanted to see the David Bowie exhibit, so we went to see it. But we were talking, and it's a wonderful exhibit. Y'all get to the Contemporary Art Museum. David Bowie was a genius, you know, right? And he stayed in his mind as a young person. What he said was, he said he'd stay alone because he loved being in his imagination. Right? And so that's what we're asking ourselves all the time. Joy is really that sense of well-being within you. And my friend, it was so interesting. You know, he lives in Paris, which is probably one of my favorite cities. And he was saying, you know, Heidi, I come here for music conventions a lot. And the next one is in Duluth, Minnesota, and I can't wait. I'm like, Duluth, Minnesota, really? You know, but you can see that he loves the small towns of the U.S., you know, where people live really simply, and maybe other people love Paris. So what I'm saying with this idea of your joy is that it's going to be unique to you. You know, Duluth, I hope he sends me a postcard. I won't be visiting with him. But it's fascinating I love the idea that everybody's joy is something different. So I want to engage that little child in you, because you could see the little child was what was coming alive. If you think of all of our stories of Christmas, it's always somebody whose heart is small, who feels oppressed, you know, whether it's Scrooge or George Bailey or my friend the Grinch. And we know that it is always the same story because nothing was in Jesus that's not in you. Nothing was in these soldiers in 1914 that is not in you. And so then we have characters that tell a story, and that's why we always get so into it, because it's like, yeah, my heart is small around that. And I want to prepare room. Now, Joy to the World, it's like, I'm the one that has to prepare room. Thank you, Fred. And my ventriloquist friend, Fred. Yes, so those of you who are saying, this is really silly that she has the Grinch up there, it's just because your kid wants to play more. All right. So we know the Grinch. When I came to interview, I brought the Grinch, right? And I got the job, so y'all are somebody's into the Grinch around here. So anywho, the Grinch, is mad at who? The Who's, right? Because his trench is, I'm mad at Christmas because it's too happy and noisy and fun and joyful, and I'm committed to being miserable. Have you ever had that feeling? I'm committed to being miserable. I'm in my trench. I'm committed to this. And people, have a nice day. You're like, yeah, whatever. I'm having a bad day. I'm committed to it. Okay, so the Grinch goes down and he steals all the Who's presents because he wants the Who's to be as miserable as he is. And we can understand that, right? If you're angry, we want everybody to be angry. Misery loves company. But he goes up to the top of Mount Crumpet to dump it, all of the gifts. And so, but mainly he says, poo-poo to the Who's. I stopped Christmas from coming. And so he says, I'm putting my hand to my ear because I want to hear the Who's say, boo-hoo, right? Okay, yes. So still in the trench. So he puts his hand to his ear and he says, this is a sound I simply must hear. And he says, a sound comes over the snow. It started out low, then it started to grow. And the sound wasn't sad, it was merry, very. The Who's down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing without any presents at all. So the Grinch started puzzling till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, he thought, means a little bit more. Yes, perhaps there's more to you than being in that trench. And he comes down and he comes into Whoville and he just, gives all the toys back. But the Who's were really not about that. They were joyful because they knew that joy was their birthright. That a present is nice, but it can't take or add to the joy that you are. And we know at the end of the story, they say, down in Whoville that day, that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. All right, he actually says this, but I'm the only one who can hear it. 3 sizes that day. Yes. And so we know that as you get out of your trench of right and wrong, bad and good, enemy and soldier, your heart will grow hugely, and you'll see that it was always there. It was something that wasn't hidden from you. So I invite us to continue with that idea of what is the spiritual muscle that wants to grow around joy? Who is that person that has been put in my life as my teacher, yay, to bring up that sense of frustration and anxiety and resentment so I can go, I'm bigger than this. And it may not happen immediately. Something about being in a trench with a gun, it happens quicker, than, okay, we'll come out of this thing. But you may have been in that trench for quite a while. And so let's make 2014, if you want to honor yourself and honor this anniversary of 100 years since these guys got out of that trench and said, you know what, I like your buttons. Give me a few of your buttons. I like your song. I like your story. And perhaps this idea of really even thinking about something in that situation that brings you joy, because that's where it starts. And then perhaps we could say like that soldier who was writing to his mother, it's marvelous, right? Okay, so let's breathe in to that sense of marvelous. We're going to be in our exploration of joy and our allowing of joy. And at the end of our meditation time, Josie is going to sing Ave Maria from the movie. Yes, and it's really so beautiful what she does. And then I'd invite us just to be in that space. Don't clap. And then we'll clap later, and she's good with that. And then we're going to go right into Blessed Always. But I'd like y'all to have the experience of your own joy, all right? So let's just close your eyes and recognize that you are how the world is waking up. Your birth, your life, every moment, every experience has been finely crafted for you to be exactly the right place, right here and right now. I invite you to use your chair as a metaphor, feeling the weight of the back of your legs on the chair and feeling the weight of your back on the chair. And use the chair to remind you how life supports you. You don't have to think about it. Is this chair going to support me? Or does it like me? Does it not like me? It just supports you. And life is the same way. It just supports you. Not because of anything you do, because of who you are. And so perhaps our main opportunity is to keep breathing, keep noticing, stay curious, and know that everything is just as it's supposed to be. So I'd like to invite you to consider in our meditative energy, this profound sacred time together, to see yourself as looking out of whatever trench of consciousness you might be in, to just lifting your eyes out of that trench and seeing the light. And ask yourself in this time of your own vibrational shift, your rebirth of your Christness, to ask yourself, who can I be if I just let go of the story of anything's wrong, anything needs to be fixed, people need to change. I'm looking out and feeling that sense of who I'd be if I realize the truth that I am free. And so let's just breathe into that sense of you looking out, feeling yourself free of any sense of lack or limitation. And just breathe into that sense of joy, sense of expansion, sense of birth. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still. Be. in the adventure of living my divine nature, I do leave behind energy, story, belief that does not ignite the joy that is my birthright. I very gently leave them in that trench. I come out of that trench and I walk into this new land with new friends, with a new energy, and with a sense of I am born in the image and likeness of God. And so it is. Amen. And let's keep breathing as we allow and feel very honored to have Josie sing for us Ave Maria.
At this time, we hold in our hearts all of the prayers, all of the thoughts that we're thinking in terms of those trenches. We see ourselves moving individually and collectively out of our trenches and into that place of light. And for those that we know that aren't able to move out of the trenches yet, we hold that light for them. And in that spirit, we invite you to speak the names of anyone that you'd like held in prayer into this sacred space. We know that as we pray, Spirit has already done the work, and our prayers are answered. And for answered prayer, we say, thank you, God, and amen. We're your prayer chaplains for this service. I'm Brian, this is Gabi and Rosie. Gabi speaks in Spanish if anyone wants to pray in Spanish. She's really good at that. We're absolutely delighted to take anything that you have on your heart and pray with you, and we love to pray for joy and gratitude as well. We'll be over in the Fillmore room after service. Please feel free to drop a prayer in the prayer box also, or visit us online. Thanks so much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Wow, now we can give Josie a hand. Wow. Bravo! Wow, wow. We are so blessed. Thank you, Josie. Wow. All right. So now we give from this sense of abundance and being blessed and being part of this beautiful home we call Unity in Chicago. Just know that your resources and your giving blesses our building, our musical staff, our staff, just all the people and all the things that go on here at Unity in Chicago. The other really important part of giving is to recognize where you've received. You know, that I find in the tithing class is always the prosperity class. What we talk about the most is that people go, oh, I don't know how to receive. And so our whole point of tithing or giving, this love offering idea is that you really are giving from where you've received. So it's kind of like, yay, I've received. and that's what's really exciting. I do have to tell us another little story. There was people that, around this time were feeling, gosh, I'm spending so much money and things are kind of tight. And so one lady said, gosh, is tithing really 1/10 of what comes in? And the minister said, yes, but we'll give you a break today. Just give 1/5. Pretty right? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'm working with it. All right. Joy, y'all. Okay. So we'll hold that huge amount of flow that comes in and comes out into your life, and just hold it really with the energy of the joy that you are. The joy that you are. And let's breathe in. And I'd like you to really reflect on where you've received and the wealth that is your spirituality. Okay, so that's so important to get in that sense of gratitude. Okay, then we will say together our conscious giving blessing. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I so blessed.
Dear, beautiful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. And the elves coming from all directions. All right. So, and our electronic giving site will be up next year because we needed an electrician. Got to have a juice getting in there. So, but anyway, there will be a way to sign up. Use your debit card and credit card. It'll be right out there, or you can use that anyway. It seems so weird to talk about debit cards and credit cards when I'm blessing money. Anyway, so let's breathe in. Yes, and let's just feel that sense of gratitude for receiving one of many, many channels of good. And all we have to do is say yes to life, and life works. So let's say together our conscious giving blessing. We are grateful for these gifts of faith and love. We recognize these are signs of our prosperity and highest good. Action right here and right now, and so it is, and thank you all. All right, Fred McAfee and announcements, yay!
Brief, I promise. Yay! Yeah, speaking of gratitude, we want to thank Shar Bennington for today's flowers. Shar writes, in loving memory of our Unity family members that we lost this past year, and in loving memory of the dear friends and family members of our Unity family members we lost this year. We are blessed to have loved so deeply. May we continue to have opportunities to love deeply every day for the rest of our lives. Much love, Shar Bennington. Thank you, Shar, for the many ways you bless us. Our Unity chaplains invite you to their monthly Good Grief group today at 1:15 in the Oak Room, where we will prayerfully honor our grief and bring peace to our hearts. Today is the final day to contribute to our compassionate Christmas drive for the night ministry. Your donations will help keep the homeless adults and children on Chicago's North Side warm this winter. Be sure to stop by the Compassionate Christmas table in the Friendship Room. Also, I want to share with you these gigantic thank you cards, Christmas cards.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
These were given to us by Centro Romero.
And they said they just didn't know how to mail this card. So here it is, and there was 150 children that were blessed by this church and received their Christmas gifts. Yes, so this will be downstairs, so please come look at these pictures and all of the signatures and just recognize how much you contributed to joy in the world. So thank you. All right, yes, thank you all.
And you notice how the joy comes back? Huh? Our Burning Bowl service is a powerful tradition here at Unity. Plan to join us on Wednesday, December 31st to release all that is not serving your highest good in our ceremonial fire. That's at 6:30. And on Sunday, January 4th, Reverend Heidi will lead us in the White Stone ceremony when we prayerfully discern our intention for the new year and write on that clean slate. So to those of you who are joining us for the first time, we want to extend a very warm welcome and a Merry Christmas to you. We're so glad that you chose to join us. Hope that you have enjoyed your time with us. We would like to share a small gift with you, but we need to know who you are. So please raise your hand so our ushers can find you. There we go. Looks like he got his flower early. You have one over here? Here? She says, oh my God. So, along with a carnation, we would like to extend to you an invitation to join us downstairs in the friendship, or in the welcome zone. That's in the library. Look for the big blue and white welcome sign. We're so glad that you're here. We'd like to get to know you better. Those of you who may be here, kind of still newly-ish, somewhere there's an adverb in there. We invite you also to stop by the welcome zone because you may have some questions that have developed since you first walked in, and we'd like to provide some answers. So please stop by. And now I get to welcome back Josie Falbo.
Oh, here I am. Here we go. I said earlier, y'all want to join me in singing? Please do. And here we go. Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, mourn the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Praise the Lord. We're going to change keys. Oh yeah, singing exaltation, glory to God, all citizens of heaven. Glory to God, glory in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Christ Lord. Yeah, Lord, we greet thee. Lord, this happy morning, Jesus, be the glory, glory given. Ooh, Lord of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Come, let us adore him. Christ the Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, come all ye faithful. Come all ye faithful. Oh, come, let's adore him. Let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Oh, come all ye faithful. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, come all ye faithful people, come. Oh, come all ye faithful. Come on, yeah, yeah. Oh, come all ye faithful. Yeah, all ye faithful people, come. Oh, come all ye faithful. Oh, yeah. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, woo. Thank you.
And that's Josie Falbo. And that's Peter Polzak and Bill Harrison and Sarah Allen. By the way, Josie has some CDs. They're available in the wings, so check that out. Check that out. There's a special message from the pet ministry, so I'm going to ask Carol to come on up. And Sarah.
Hi there. This is our friend Sarah. She's going to ask a special blessing for these 4 dogs of her friends, and she'll explain it.
Hi, everybody. I unfortunately got a very unhappy call earlier last week. Thanks, Fred. A very dear friend of mine has been given 6 to 12 months to live. She has been a groomer, and she's also boarded dogs and has 4 dogs of her own. And we're looking for homes for her dogs. So anybody who has space in their house for dogs, they're all lovely, lovely dogs. I know them all well. They're all house trained. And I'm going to let Carol finish.
She's having a hard time talking. This lady had been diagnosed with cancer a long time ago, and she thought she was cancer-free. And she's been in the hospital now since Thanksgiving, so she's boarding the dogs. So that's quite an expense. And they were all rescues, so they're all well behaved. There are a couple of senior dogs and a couple young ones. So if anybody thinks that they could give them a foster home for a little while or see if they would like to keep them, we just appreciate any help we can get for this lady. Her name is Paula Clark. And thank you very much for all your support. Also, I want to throw out there that I have 2 kittens now that are not very social yet. They're 6 weeks old maybe, and they need a little help. This would have to take someone who's done this before. I do have some drops that'll help, but mostly they need to be talked to and handled, and they're still small. So any help, we'd really appreciate anything you can do, and thank you very much. And one more thing, isn't the church beautiful? Isn't it decorated beautiful? Thank you.
You gotta love Carol and her drops. So if it's a tough season, check with Carol. Yep, she's got puppies, she's got kitties, and she's got drops.
That's right.
By the way, on your way out, check out the gallery, the Youth's Vision of Peace on Earth. It's they're all available for sale. The proceeds will go to support the Unity Global Initiative, whose mission is to support and develop and empower our next generation. We have amazing youth here. By the way, thank you, all of you, for your contributions, for your purchases during the Pay What You Can Will sale. I think they raised $1,200. So thanks so much for your generosity. Hope you got lots of great white elephants. We got one. Anything else? All right.
So thank you, Fred. Let's give Fred a hand. Wow, yes. So good. Yay. All right, I know, we are so appreciative here. So we're going to say together our affirmation, and if I'll just say one line if you don't have a card, or if you're sitting on it, or your neighbor's sitting on it, or God only knows. All right, so here's one line. Joy builds within my soul. Joy builds within my soul. And bursts into my life in unexpected ways. Beautiful. Well, let it happen. Get out of that trench. Look how wonderful it is out there in the new world of you. Merry Christmas, and I hope we see you all Wednesday night. And if not, have a really safe Christmas and a beautiful, beautiful New Year. And I'm just so grateful to be in the midst of all of you. So let's all stand and sing our Weave, 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 and let there be peace on earth.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.